I've got to be honest about something here. Did you tell Adrian about this?
No, we didn't go through this just yet.
Okay.
But we shall.
Sometimes, Adrian, right, when we have the potential to talk to a guest on the show, sometimes we throw it out to our listeners if they deem you worth talking to or not, right? And so we threw it out there and we said, hey, look, should we talk to this guy or not? And we got a billion texts back from people that went,
hell yeah!
This guy starred,
that's wonderful.
Starred opposite Shatner and Heather Locklear. How could you not talk to him?
Yeah, well, I actually do because of, obviously, my television show, which is in syndication all over the world.
Yeah.
It's still running to this day, if you can believe it. I actually have quite a lot of fans in the UK. So that's actually one of the great reasons why Bill Kenwright asked me to come and do this, because I do have quite a lot of fans here. So I'm looking forward to exploring your land and meeting all of my fans.
So the production that you're going to be in is La Cage aux Folles. It's coming to the Bordgosh Energy Theatre in January here in Dublin.
Tickets I hear is a beautiful theatre.
Oh, it is.
It's really nice. Yeah.
It's really fabulous, and you will really enjoy it. The crowd is always really good there.
And the positioning of it all, it's set by the water in the Docklands. It's a gorgeous location. You'll love it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But obviously you are most famous, shall we say, for playing alongside William Shatner in TJ Hooker. Tell us a little bit. Bill, do you get on with him still?
Oh, wonderfully, yes. I talk to him all the time and see him all the time and everything. Bill's a great guy. It's like it's funny, during those years when he was doing Captain Kirk and T.J. Hooker, he had this persona that he was this, manly, tough guy and everything like that. But underneath it all, Bill is just a regular jokester, is what he is. And we just spent 5 years in a squad car playing jokes on each other and got along really, really quite well, actually. I mean, in the beginning for me, it was like, oh my God, I'm starring opposite William Shatner.
Yeah.
So I was in awe and everything. But, after a while, that all kind of went away and we just became very good friends. I mean, when you're spending 13 hours a day in a police car with somebody, things just, you start to get familiar with each other and all. And we actually did play jokes on each other quite often.
Like what? Adrian?
Well,
tell us what you did to him.
Oh God, there's hundreds of them. There's a thing, in the old movie Rebel Without a Cause. There's a thing called chicken with cars. Where you're driving, but in this case, you're driving at each other and you just veer off at the last second and stuff. Well, we used to steal the keys to all of the stunt cars at lunchtime, and we'd go into like one of the back lots and start driving cars at each other and just swerve away at the last second. I will tell you one really, really funny story. Bill, back in the day, now they have these little electronic things that you can put on your abdomen that sends a little shock wave and almost kind of contracts your muscles for your stomach.
Yep.
And a company asked Bill to just try this out for a while, and he was like, "Oh, Adrian, I got to tell you about this. This is incredible. I don't have to do sit-ups anymore. I can just sit there in my motorhome and I can and it does the sit-ups for me." So he demonstrated the whole thing, and this thing was like the size of a piece of luggage. All the dials on it looked like something that Dr. Frankenstein would put together. Well, I decided to play a joke on him. He usually did this at lunchtime, and I saw when he would leave his motorhome to go to get his lunch. I would sneak into it, and there was a dial in terms of the intensity on the electricity, and I would turn it up a notch every day. and I think about the fourth or fifth day, I knocked on his door, and he was like convulsing. I don't understand. This thing is just getting in more and more intense. I don't get it. That's the kind of stuff I used to do.
Oh, it's class.
That's classic. And what about little Heather Locklear at the time? I mean, absolutely stunning, a beautiful woman to be starring opposite.
And lovely.
Yeah, is she lovely? Yeah.
Yeah, she's a wonderful human being, and all. The funny thing about Heather is that when we did what we call the pilot of T.J. Hooker, actually Heather was not in the pilot. It was a 2-hour TV movie special that we had done, and Aaron Spelling pretty much discovered her in a milk commercial.
Right.
And said, that is my next Farrah Fawcett. And
Incredible.
she
Wow.
was, when we were picked up in the series, Heather, she had not really acted at all. She was a student at UCLA in Los Angeles, and kind of like learned, her acting craft, on camera.
On set. Wow. Okay.
And you're a lucky man, because you then in later years got to star alongside Michelle Pfeiffer in Grease 2.
Yeah, it was a dirty job, but somebody had to do it.
It might as well have been you, man. It might as well have been you.
Yeah, I have actually. I look back at all of the beautiful, beautiful women that I've starred opposite, and I'm very, very lucky. Honestly, Michelle is truly one of the most beautiful. She truly is one of the most beautiful faces you could possibly ever imagine.
Stunner. Yeah.
Flawless.
Hey,
and
listen.
to this day, she is just as beautiful as she was when we did Grease 2.
When you guys, though, were doing TJ Hooker and stuff like that, had you any idea that you were making a show that was going to last the time it has? I mean, 2016, and to be able to still talk about that stuff is quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, go figure. I mean, I've had the great fortune to end up doing a few cult classics. TJ Hooker being one, Grease 2 being another. And I also did a movie with Tom Hanks called Bachelor Party.
Yeah.
Which also has become quite a cult classic. When we were doing it, all I was hoping for was showing up for work the next day. I never even thought about it lasting as long as it did, and then in syndication, here we are still talking about it. I mean, I'm blessed and I'm very grateful.
It's a bit like me and Marty, really. We just show up every day and hope they haven't fired us.
Exactly.
There you go.
You know what? And if you last a week, you last a week. If you're told to come back in Monday, so be it. That's great. The other thing we found kind of strange about you is that the first thing we did was obviously put your name into Google to see what popped up. Why are we offered naked pictures of you as one of the first things that pops up?
I guess, back in the day, I was what you call a Hollywood hunk at the time, and that's why I was hired to do what I was doing. Okay. But to be perfectly honest, I started my career in theater, and I kind of made a strong conscious effort after having started on Broadway doing shows, and then being swept off to Hollywood, and then all of a sudden I was in Hollywood for 8-9 years, and I had not done a stage production in all that time. I made a strong conscious effort to go back, to the theater. So I went to Hollywood because I had probably the best manager in the business. He handled back in the day, Grease, the Broadway show, was in its first production, the original production, and I ended up being Danny Zuko, one of the last Danny Zuko's in a long 10-year period that ran on Broadway. And my manager handled everybody who he knew that whoever played Danny Zuko was a potential star because they were a triple threat. They could act, they could sing, they could dance. And they have to be fairly good looking, to be able to pull off that role. And he said my time in Hollywood was now, and that I trust him. And he was right. And he said, Broadway will always be there for you and later on. And he was right. And here I am